Hey guys, welcome back to Deepak's Daily Reading, and we're going to be finishing up Annie Duke's Quit. So I've just finished the book and I'll give you my thoughts on the final chapters. So there's a concept that I really like. I think I've unconsciously applied some of this in my life over the last few years. So it's, to a degree, it's the idea, so Annie Duke calls it marking progress along the way, and then Dan Sullivan, I think, calls it the concept of living in the gain rather than the gap. In the book, The Gap and the Gain. And the principle is that we're goal focused, which is fine. We won't always achieve a goal, but oftentimes it's a case of looking at the progress we have achieved, even if, for example, we don't ultimately complete the goal, or we decide upon review of the goal that the goal no longer makes sense anymore. And they give some really great examples. So I didn't actually realize this, but one of the things that's quite popularized about David Goggins is completing Hell Week with, I think, quite aggressive shin splints or micro stress fractures. But it seems to be this is a quite common thing. If you look up the London Marathon, and there's quite a few people that run with broken legs. They break it mile 8. They actually break their actual leg and they continue to run, and there's people that break bones in their feet and then they continue. However, if you look up the recovery as a consequence of continuing to run for that period of time and do follow-ups, a lot of these people later regret fundamentally continuing, because they say, well, it meant that the next 6 marathons I had planned, I didn't end up running at all. So that's a really interesting narrative for me, and I do believe that running or training through aggressive injury is ultimately counterproductive, because it can limit what you can achieve longer term, because it does take from the body, so to speak. So there is a redemptive cost. You've got to pay the piper effectively. So I quite like that. And in those instances, people continue because they feel that it's going to be some kind of failure, but it's also good to appreciate the progress that you have made. I did run 10 miles of a 26-mile run, and it's something that you consider when giving up, or rather when finishing becomes counterproductive if it's going to lead to injury. So that's something just as a consideration. So that's also why developing an exploratory mindset is so important, because you want to understand what are the other opportunities, the benefit of not finishing when it's become counterproductive, because it will give you room for more opportunities. And there's many different manifestations of that. Me continuing to stick my nose in to try and help every single department in the end becomes counterproductive, because the benefit of me not sticking my nose in is that I put my nose more into, for example, reading these or listening to these audibles, and that goes out onto YouTube. So for those of you who aren't aware, Ira chops these up into videos and puts them onto a YouTube channel, which is slowly beginning to grow. And that's, for example, something I can lean into more, alongside all of the actions this creates for the business, as well as just my general development, which compounds over time. So just some examples of how that might play out. And there's this concept of getting so goal focused that we develop, they didn't use this term, but I'll use it, we develop seeing blindness. So there's a famous, I think it's a Harvard experiment, but there's a group of people that are asked to examine a tape of people throwing basketballs back and forth, and during the middle of the video there's a woman who walked across the screen in a gorilla suit. So they're asked if they noticed anything strange. They say no. They're asked if there was anything in the background. They say no. They're asked, did you see a woman in a gorilla suit? They say no. Or did you see a gorilla walking past? And they stop and point it out to them, and they're shocked. So it's when you become so goal focused, you miss other things, and this can even extend to opportunities that are right in front of you. So that's the problem with becoming so goal focused and goal oriented on one goal, that you miss other opportunities that present themselves. Also, with the challenges of, let's call it sunk cost or waste, the fallacy with that is waste is a forward looking problem, not backward, because there's no waste with stuff that you've already spent time on. It's just what's the bigger problem if you reverse it or flip it and look forward, is that there's going to be waste looking forward because you are going to continue to waste time. So time spent's already gone. So the only concern, or the only thing you should be thinking about, is the waste of the future and making sure that you minimize waste as much as possible. So again, that relates to if you're doing low leverage tasks, then that's a real problem. You need to move to high leverage. Anything low leverage is not going to help ultimately the development of your life and whatever it is that you choose to work upon. So that's why grit, and grit is a great thing. Angela Duckworth's grit is great, but making sure you've got the ability to walk away when the direction isn't good is really important as well. So I think that as quickly as possible, for example, when you're starting something or doing something, there needs to be continuous progression as determined by deliberate practice. And then when you reach a place of automaticity, you need to evolve to the next level. So quit what it is that you're currently doing on autopilot so you can move to the next level. So that's something that probably I don't do with running, because I've stayed at the same level for probably over a decade. I did get a running coach. I did see my times improve. I got rid of the running coach, or I stopped, and my times haven't improved anymore. So there's something within that I need to reinvestigate anyway, which is about coaching. Anyway, the final thing to comment is that contrary to popular belief, winners quit a lot, and that's how they win. So that's really quite interesting to hear that. I think Michael Jordan has got 2 records for scoring the most points to win a game, or something to this effect, but also losing the most in key moments. He's got the most as well as the least, and I think that stuff like that people lose sight of. So yeah, really good book. I think it's very interesting and thought-provoking, and definitely gives me a much more rounded view of grit as well as when to stick and when to leave. So I definitely recommend reading both of these books.
Hey guys, it's Deepak Shukla here. I am huge on listening to books on Audible. So if you're interested in getting all of the insights as I discover them through the course of all the books I read, please do comment, like, and of course subscribe so that you get notified every time we release a video. Thank you so much, and I hope to hear from you soon.